Well, start this off by saying good afternoon. I'm an Australian guy that has been working in the mining industry for about 14-15 years. I just operate different types of equipment, whether it be excavators or loaders or amphibious rollers, amphibious diggers, dozers, graders, water carts, crushing plants. I've spent a long time working on crushing plants, fixing and maintaining them.
Workout now being incorporated.
That's the radio. Yeah, so obviously the radio's in the machine. That's a form of our communication between myself and other people on site. So yeah, but yeah, this is sort of more just to introduce myself a little bit, and want to try and get some videos out there and just show the day-to-day, the week-to-week sort of a normal person. But what we do to just get by and do our bits and pieces, whether it be at work or at home or with the kids. Most all my kids are grown up now, sort of above the 18 mark, so it doesn't stop. You're still helping them out with stuff, whether it be cars or moving house or boyfriend, girlfriend troubles, all those bits and pieces, so it just goes from there. But yeah. So we're just going to start this little bit of a journey and we'll sort of work from here and see what sort of people are interested in finding out, whether it be about my mining life. I'm a gamer. When I'm at home, I spend the majority of my time sitting in front of the computer playing Rust. If anyone knows about that, it's pretty involved. You can easily spend 60-70 hours playing that in 3 or 4 days constantly. So yeah, but yeah, I'm into cars, mainly 4-wheel drive. So obviously my background over the years working in mining and fixing stuff, so I've had a lot to do with electric side of stuff. I was a qualified carpenter for a long time. Was ex-army. Spent 13 years as an investigator, private investigator. And then, yeah, like I said, the last sort of 13-14 years in the mining industry and the civil industry, in mainly the Northern Territory, in Queensland, a little bit in South Australia, but yeah, Northern Territory in Queensland has probably been the majority of my working life. So yeah. Yeah, the machine I'm in currently is an amphibious roller, so it sits on mud and has 2 screws, like corkscrews, that rotate, and they push it forward and backwards through the mud. And what we try to do here is to bring the water to the surface and compact the mud, so that we can backfill this pit. Once the pit in a mine is deemed finished and complete, it has to be backfilled. So a team of people will come in, and engineers and gingerbeers, whatever you want to call them, they come in and determine what's going to be done with it, and the environmental side, the government, everyone else that wants to stick their finger in it, and yeah, we come along and start working on it to get the water pumped out and the material compacted so that we can get more material in and more machines. So this machine, like I said, currently it works mainly on wet mud and water. It doesn't fully float. So yeah, we truly wanted to try and see if it fully float, but we might be in a spot of bother. Yeah, so if you are interested in how I got into the mining industry, going to have a bit of a chat about that. I was an investigator, and I'd worked with some cases that were quite dangerous, and an old boss just said, why don't you change your whole career? So that's how it sort of started. So I seen a couple of adverts. I had operated obviously machinery when I was a carpenter, bobcats and loaders and diggers. Not big stuff, but small stuff. So I had the idea of how it all worked. And yeah, so I saw an advert. I was living in the Northern Territory at the time and working in the Northern Territory. And I saw the advert, decided to put my resume in. I didn't lie about anything. I told exactly the truth on there. A few mates have said, "Oh, just crack on about this," but the other day I thought, well, if I'm going to get in here, I'm going to be found out pretty quickly if I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I'd rather be. I just realised I had my earbuds in, and I don't know if anyone knows, this doesn't sound very good when it comes through there. I am in the machine that's running. I've got the air conditioner on, so yeah, so I've put it back to recording from the phone and got my earplugs in, which because it's noisy. I hope it's not too noisy on here. But yeah, as I was saying, so I put my resume in to a company, and then a couple of days later I got a phone call saying could I come for an interview, and I said yeah, no dramas. And then a couple of days later I didn't hear anything, so I decided to make a phone call, and they just said, yep, you're starting on this particular date, which I sort of thought, wow, that's I haven't done the interview. They said, oh no, it's fine, we rang your references and we're happy to take you on board, and that was it. And that was in 2010. So yeah, I basically finished up my business. I was obviously a private investigator at the time, and I was a contractor. So I basically put that all on hold. Finished off my files. I explained to the company that I couldn't start that date, so I finished all my files and then handed them to some other investigators. And started about a week and a half after that. So yeah, and yeah, that's sort of how it started. And once I sort of got in there, I met a couple of people that were pretty helpful in sort of taking someone new under their wing. And once you start doing the VOCs, which is verification of competency, make sure that you actually, the card that you had saying you could operate a loader or a digger or whatever it is, they give you a bit of a test back then, and my supervisor was pretty good. He realised that I could operate a loader. Some people go, oh, that's so easy, a loader. But there's certain things in the loader that if you haven't done it, you don't know. Anyway, so he put me in the loader, and I was loading Moxies, which are 40-ton dump trucks. Loading them, a pretty easy job, and just cleaning up the face and at the mine and a few other bits and pieces. And then they stuck me in a digger just to sort of see, and I was pretty slow, but they understood I could operate that, so that was fine. And then a role came up as a service truck driver, and I thought, why not try for it? And they sort of laughed at the time, and then they thought, oh, we'll give you a shot. And I took a liking to it. I already had a pretty good knowledge of electrics, like I said, as a carpenter, not so much as a carpenter, but as an investigator, I used to build a lot of cameras and electrics, and I won't go to a lot, but yeah, I used to delve into that world pretty full on. And also, as a young lad, I built my own engines, back in the little bit, built Holdens, HQs, and all that sort of stuff, Commodores, the early Commodores. So I had an idea of how it all worked. But yeah, anyway, so we got stuck into the service truck. They had a guy who come with me for a week or so and sort of show me the ropes, and so that was it. I was refueling and greasing and doing air cleaners and spinning off filters and changing oil, and I did that for 3 or 4 months, and I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. I learned so much about the equipment, and then I was sort of let loose by myself. So yeah, it was good. You get given what you're going to do for the day and bang into it flat out. So you start in about an hour earlier than everyone else, so that you can get the diggers underway and the dozers, so that you're not losing production time. And lunchtime's the smokers, when everyone parks up, you go there and do the other machines that can't really stop. And then Moxies and other ancillary gear that can park up just briefly while you refuel and grease and check over stuff. So that was pretty straightforward, and that was in a mine. That was actually in a mine environment, not a civil. So I was doing a tailings dam in a mine site, so that was good for me because you got to know about all the rules and regulations pretty quickly. I think back then it was like 7 or 8 days of inductions. You know, you learned about everything, you know, sort of like the environment and, you know, what this site, the site you were working on entailed, so that was good. And then they were sort of talking to me about what I was sort of wanted to do in the future, and I just said, I'm interested in learning those crushing and screening plants. They look like a bit of a challenge. And I said, oh, okay, so I spent a few days and hanging around those pieces of equipment, and I took a liking to it. I loved the challenge of trying to work out what was going wrong, or faults, or fixing stuff, and that was it. Bang, I was into it. So yeah, and then I realised that could be my niche, you know, to work on crushing plants. So I spent a lot of time, you know, rebuilding engines, as well as, you know, jaw liners and cone liners, and some of the stuff you might not understand. But anyway, you're basically repairing them and getting them back on the way, and just operating them. I worked on very old equipment as well as brand new equipment, and then just sort of went on from there, and then did some civil jobs, you know. So, but yeah, you can start in the mining without having to be, you know, knowing everything, or the civil side without knowing anything. The best thing I can tell people that I've learned over the years is not lie to anyone. Don't, I don't want to say the word, but, you know, ends with sh, and starts with so that's what I learned, because pretty quickly you'll find some people that are going to be way smarter than you, and you can tell from a country mile that person hasn't operated a dozer or a digger, loader or a moxie, just by the way they're doing things. A digger, I can see a digger from 300 meters away and know the person hasn't operated one before, just the way they're moving. The first thing you ask them is the revs turned down, or you got the setting wrong, or, you know, do you need some help? And quite often they get a bit offensive, and then, you know, you say, oh, look, I'm just trying to help you, buddy. You know, sort of just wasn't sure if you're new or the machine's playing up, because, you know, I want to sort of make sure the machine's not failing. And then they'll realise you're coming from a different angle. You're not trying to have a go at them, you're trying to help them. And then they'll say, hey, look, I told a bit of a porky on my on the CV, and I got in here and I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing. You know, can you give me some tips? And the first tip I start with, don't lie. Don't lie. You get caught out. So yeah, then we'll start from scratch. So I mean, I've been a supervisor over the years. Slowly, you know, you don't get to do that straight away, but over the time of learning stuff, you know, you get put into a supervisor role. That's basically just babysitting everyone. The supervisors think they are hot. They think they're awesome. It's not. You're trying to make sure you can look after those people. They go home safely. They get what they need to do their job. Their equipment is right. You know, talk to the fitters, your bosses, the bigger bosses. Hey, we need to be able to get this rolling so these guys can perform and get the job done. So as soon as you're being a supervisor or a superintendent and you think you are the ducks cuts, wrong person for the job. You are there to provide the operators and the people on the ground with what they need to do their job so they can go home safely and enjoy the job. Yeah, so anyway, that's probably enough for today, I think. Just give you some stuff to think about, and if you are interested in asking the questions, I'm going to try and sort of get this channel happening a little bit with bits and pieces. Like I said, I'm not the be-all end-all. I don't know everything or whatever. This is just from my experience, and like I said, I've only been in this industry 14 years, so only a very short time compared to some people. Some of the guys I've worked with started in this industry when they were 18 and they're like 65, 70 years old. The stories they can tell you is unbelievable. You know, and I always, every day, you learn something. As soon as you think you can't learn anything, no good to anyone. You know, I've come across 21-year-old guys on a grader, you know, and they'll start saying, oh, I'm the best grader and I can do this and I can do this. It's like, okay, no dramas, you know. And you'll go and say, can you get something simple like this done? And, oh, I don't need to do that. Anyway, well, thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheerio.